and I suppose what we're trying to achieve. So my name's Jack, and I'm a specialist IT recruiter for MCS Group, operating across the GB market. I suppose like our ultimate goal has always to become really embedded within the communities that we actually operate in, whether that be the south of England, USA, Ireland, or Northern Ireland, where we're headquartered. We always love to get involved and support the tech community. I suppose one of the ways that we've been doing this over recent weeks is by telling the stories of some of the most successful and high potential companies and clients. So today, I'm thankful to have Rosemarie. If you wouldn't mind kicking us off, could you just tell me a bit about the background of your company, and then I suppose your story as an individual as well?
Sure. So the company is Wazoku. We're a software company based in London, but we are a big part of the Bristol tech community. We have our tech office, our development office in Bristol. We are an innovation company where we go in and we help primarily large multinationals, but also governments, central governments, to innovate at scale with whomever whatever audience they need to innovate with. So we offer them the opportunity to do it internally because everybody in the business has ideas, has solutions, has ways to improve the business, but also with your known external communities, your partners, your customers. And also we offer an open innovation crowd of about 700,000 people globally. Oh. That can also provide solutions for problems that a business might have. And so we bring you in one place to do all of that. And then we also help with you developing your innovation capabilities across the business. So whether that be individuals or the business as a whole, to really give people opportunities to learn and grow.
Okay, fantastic. And what about you, I suppose, as an individual, and a bit about your background then?
Sure. So I am as you can probably guess, American, but I moved to the UK about 11 years ago. So I've been here. I met my co-founder, Simon Hill, at that time, and we decided to build this business together. I started out actually as a lawyer. So I was a lawyer for 5 years in the US, and then I moved into, a little bit by accident, into product and product management. Worked at a number of startups in the US, and then came over here to co-found the business in the UK.
Well, thanks very much for that. Some great insights as well. What would you say, in terms of Wazoku, would be the sort of unique selling points?
So I think it is the ability to centralize and manage all of your innovation activity, with whomever you're doing that activity with, in one place, so you get a holistic view of what you're doing. Too often organizations, particularly because our primary customer base is large multinationals, too often what happens is it's all disparate, it's all distributed, and the left hand has absolutely no idea what the right hand is doing. And so there's a lot of duplication, a lot of wasted time, a lot of misalignment. And so what we've done is we've said, no, this should all happen in a single place. But there's too much happening. Again, large multinationals, there's too much happening that individuals can't find that themselves. So we also curate that. So we use AI and machine learning and natural language processing to curate what's happening. So instead of you having to go and search for it, we can say to you, these are the things that are happening in this area, which is of interest to you. Or a big piece of what we're looking at is missed opportunities for organizations. Again, people don't look at it from this perspective, but it's your employees, your partners keep telling you this is important to do, and you keep doing nothing about it. This is a missed opportunity for you. So it's really about bringing that all together in one place and curating that content for you so that you're not having to manually, because nobody is capable of manually doing that. It's just too much.
Of course. Fantastic. In terms of then, obviously, our sort of wider audience is typically, technologists and stuff like that. So in terms of the types of technologies that are actually used within your business, what would they be?
So first, we are an Azure house. So we use the Azure technologies. That's our hosting partner. We also are, obviously everybody is well aware that they bought a 50% stake in OpenAI. So we use that so we're exploring using the Azure technology to support our AI functionality. So that's a big piece of what we do. We are a Python, Django, and an Angular so those are our primary technologies that we use. We also have a native apps for iOS and Android, which we do use React Native for that. But those would be probably our primary technologies. But we're always looking, we also really support the open source communities. So Python Django is an open source project. So we really, wherever possible, try to use open source technologies and contribute to that open source community. So, we do different things with different organizations in an effort to be a part of that open source community.
Okay, great. And in terms of then, projects that you guys work on in-house, or perhaps some of the projects you might work on in the future, what are some of those, if you could shed a bit of light?
Yeah, so we're a SaaS platform. So we don't do bespoke software for customers. We are delivering a centralized platform. And so right now we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. So we're really building up, and we're trying to do it in a useful way. We're not, I think after December and ChatGPT, everybody was like, oh, here's our AI thing, here's our AI thing. Mm-hmm. And that's great. We believe really strongly in AI, machine learning, natural language processing, but we want to do it in a way that's actually bringing value. So we've got a number of projects going on around, as I mentioned, the curation of content, because this is a real problem. And so how can we, instead of, if you say, this is the area that we're interested in, well, here's all that you've got going on in that area. We're curating that content where you don't have to go search for it, we tell you. So that's a big piece of what we're working on. We're also working on generative AI. So things like, I've got an idea, and so you can start to form that idea, but we can help prompt you in developing that idea or identifying where in the business that idea might bring value. So we've got that going on. We're actually doing some work around a big piece, which is very ignored in the innovation ecosystem, is particularly with large businesses, they're constantly wanting and seeking to work with startups, scale-ups, SMEs to progress their innovation projects. So we're building on this whole capability of them being able to bring in and manage and develop with partners. And how do you, because what we hear a lot is, people are still doing it in a spreadsheet, or they're doing it off on the side on a piece of, sometimes it's still on a piece of paper, and there's no centralized way to really understand, like, how are these R&D projects happening? Who are we doing these R&D projects with? What's been successful? What hasn't been successful? Is this startup at a point where you can actually use their technology? Are they really way early on, so that, we can't, knowing and understanding where you are, who are you investing in? Who do you want in your accelerator? Who do you want to potentially do some corporate investment with? So it's really about bringing all of that into the process, because again, this is all tied to this central concept of innovation across the business.
Okay, fantastic. In terms of then, I suppose, future plans for growth, and maybe if you could walk us through some of the challenges you guys have particularly faced or might face, along the way.
Yeah, obviously tech talent is always challenging. As I said, we're headquartered in London. We have our development office in Bristol, and we made the choice to put a development office in Bristol because honestly, it was really hard to find. We did this, I think in 2014. So it's been quite some time since we did it. But one of the primary reasons we did so is it was really difficult to find talent in London. Bristol has a vibrant, growing tech community. They also have an innovation mindset. We really had an opportunity to engage with Bristol at the government level. They really helped us get started there. So finding tech talent is always a challenge. You're competing with other companies. We are a smaller business, and even though we're a more mature business than we were in 2014, we're still can't compete with really large companies. So there's always that challenge of how can we demonstrate that we're a really desirable place to work, even if we can't always match dollar for dollar at the end of the day. But I think we offer a lot of other intangibles that we've been really lucky. We have a development team where we have people who've been here 5 to 10 years, which is not the norm. I mean,
No,
I think the average is about 1.5 years for a developer to stay with a business.
1.6, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we do much better than that. And I think it's because we do give people opportunities to grow. We do give people opportunities to learn, but it will always be a challenge. How do you keep a pipeline of people so that, because inevitably people will leave, and it's okay. It's always really quite difficult when somebody leaves. You're disappointed, but I think it also reflects that, we've helped them get ready to move on. So for me, that's probably the biggest challenge is how do you get your brand out there in a way that when you are looking, either because you have to backfill or because you're expanding. Like we did a fairly bit of expansion. We did a Series B in September of last year, so about a year ago. And so we did expand the team at the time. And recruiting particularly senior talent wasn't easy.
Okay.
But I kind of feel like that will always be true so what we try to do to counteract that, as I said, is we try to make it an environment that is desirable for a lot of other reasons.
Fantastic. I suppose like a final thing for me would be, what advice would you give to another startup or someone looking to begin their own adventure?
Be prepared for it to be challenging. But I think the most important thing when you're starting out is to ensure you have a vision, and your vision can change over time. I mean, ours certainly has, but to try and stick to a vision rather than being pulled in every time the wind changes. All too often when you're starting out and you're trying to get traction, you're like, well, we'll do whatever it takes to get customers. The problem with that is there will be a price to pay, and that price could become quite hefty. So what I would say is have a vision, know what you want to achieve. Yes, listen to the market, be prepared to pivot and adjust, but don't lose sight of that vision, because if you do, in the end of the day, in the short term, it might help you, but in the long term, it won't. So just stay true to that vision and do everything you can to achieve that vision.
Great. Happy days. Well, listen, I suppose thanks very much for taking the time to hop on with me this morning, Rosemarie. It was great to have you on, and obviously to hear the valuable insights into how you guys operate. As always, look, I'm going to tag the company into the post as well as yourself, and a link to the website just for anybody who wants to check out what you guys do.
Okay.
So yes, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.